Welcome to another episode of Cooking with Beer. We're in the heart of Kensington at Cuisine and Chateau, an interactive learning kitchen. Today we are cooking with Big Rock Beer. Let's check out their brewery.
We're one of the originals, but we're kind of last man standing right now. Big Rock started in 1985 as an endeavor by Ed McNally, our founder, to produce the type of beers that you couldn't get locally that he had enjoyed around the world. I think that we've been leading edge in a lot of areas in craft brewery. We're a pioneer in the industry and become a leader in Canada for the other craft brewers. We're the largest craft brewery in Canada. The Golden Ale, it's a lighter beer. It's less than 5% alcohol, very approachable. And I used some unusual hops from New Zealand and Australia with some Galaxies, and I also blended in some Amarillos. Port is one of our original beers. It's quite dark, it's quite heavy. It's hopped a little higher than most porters, I would think, and it's a little drier than some porters you might come across. Magpie is a style of a Rogan beer, which is a rye beer. It's got a little less rye than most typical Rogan beers would have in it. It still does have quite a large malt bill in it of rye. It has some nice spicy notes. It's a very approachable, lighter colored beer. And you know, that would be one, if I was the chef, that I'd choose to cook with. I think we can do a lot with that beer. Good luck with this one, chef. You got some great beers, so make a great meal.
Now that we have our beer ready to go, let's meet our chef for today. Let's bring in Cam Dobransky, and he is the chef and owner at Wine Bar in Kensington, as well as the Brasserie and Container Bar. Come on in, welcome.
Hey Kate.
You excited to cook with some Big Rock beer today?
Super pumped. Big Rock's awesome. Big fan of them, especially local stuff.
Awesome.
So we're gonna do the fish and chips. So it's a beer battered fish. I'm using wild lingcod here. So I'm just using this fresh stuff, trying to be as ocean-wise and sustainable as possible.
Yeah.
I'll show you a little trick what I do to make it look really big. And so you just do that, and that's what makes it look
Oh, I see.
bigger for.
A little trick that you can use.
Yeah, for sure. So we prepare the fish, get that already. Just gonna season up with a little salt for a second there. And then while that's just waiting there, we're gonna get our beer batter ready.
Okay.
So we have rice flour, and we got just regular flour. So I use 1-to-1 and basically put them both together. Just gonna grab a whisk here. And very simple. Once again, I'm gonna throw some sea salt on there.
Perfect.
Give it a good seasoning. And then just gonna use the Big Rock Golden Ale.
Oh, and you don't even need a bottle opener.
I'm a professional here. So once again, this is really easy for home. People think beer batter is a complicated thing, and you see it in bars and pubs and stuff. It's very simple. It's just a couple ingredients. Some people add other things like cornmeal to it, but this is just, you know, just taking the simplest ingredients, add in some.
And it just fuzzes right up.
Yeah, for sure. And just, you don't want this. You have to kind of use your judgment. You don't want to make it too thick. You don't want to make it too thin. If you make it too thin, the batter will be too thin. Or if it's too thick, it just gets a little cakey. But if you like it a little thicker, that's great. And if you like it thinner, that's
the bonus of making it at home.
Just as, yeah, for sure. So you just got that. And so we gotta take our fish here. So what I do is just basically dredge this in here. So basically take this and you're just dropping it in there.
Smells good.
And lingcod's a perfect fish for this. It's nice and light and flaky. Some people use halibut, but I like halibut because it's just has a little bit of light, or sorry, I use like lingcod because there's a little bit of lightness to it. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna get a little sauce ready. So a lot of people do tartar sauce and things like that with fish. What I have is basically I'm gonna make a kind of tartar sauce,
Okay.
but with my house-made peppers and a garlic aioli. So this is where I'll get you to help me mix some of the stuff in. So throw that in there, and this will be like our red pepper, garlic.
You know, I never thought of that.
Neither did I until this morning. I was just trying to get away from the traditional,
Yeah, no, it's good.
traditional
It adds some
tartar sauce.
color.
And it just gives you another option here. Okay, so if you want to mix the parsley in, we'll check our fish here. So there we go. So that is the golden ale we used. And just,
Oh, it's so brown and golden.
yeah, and what happens, and once again, and always, this is my favorite salt to use. This is called Maldon salt. It's a sea salt. It's nice and flaky. So we're gonna garnish that. So what I'll show you here is, and earlier this, once again, a lot of times you get coleslaw served with fish. Earlier, well, I've been making this for about 10 days. This is fermented zucchini.
Oh,
so
yummy.
fermentation is kind of a big thing right now. It's healthy for you. And basically this is turned into like a pickled zucchini.
Awesome. I know a lot of people have zucchini in their freezers right now.
Yeah, and
All summer.
all I did was take the weight of the zucchini, and then you take 3% of that weight, and take the weight of salt,
Oh, okay.
and then just salt it, and then cover it, and turns
that.
into this.
Pickled zucchini.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of like a new school of fish and chips here.
Yeah, a
Instead of
little
old
bit,
school.
little bit of twist on it. So we got that. So we got this.
Okay.
We're gonna take some of our tartar sauce, pepper tartar sauce. And then I always finish with a little bit of salt on it. I always put a little extra salt, especially you try to salt it right away after it comes out of the fryer so it sticks. But I always like having a little extra on the plate because sometimes, especially with meats and stuff, people like a little extra salt.
Awesome.
And
That looks absolutely phenomenal.
there you go.
Can't wait to dig into that. We're gonna take a quick commercial break and we'll be back with more Cooking with Beer. Welcome back into the kitchen at Cuisine and Chateau. We're here with Cam, and we already made our fish and chips, our beer battered fish and chips, and now we are about to make a meatloaf for our main course. Let's
So
do this.
we'll work on the sauce because that needs to reduce a little bit. So what we need to do is we're going to do our caramelized onion sauce. So
Perfect.
basically, it's very simple. You basically just dice some onions. I'll do one. You could show me your knife skills after.
They're not very good, but we can try.
Once again, you can be very rustic with this, but you know, for the restaurants or if you want to be a little fancier, you just kind of dice like that. And don't cut yourself. And what this is going to do is it's going to cook down,
Okay.
and it's going to become a nice caramelized sauce. So why don't you guys show me your knife skills? I've been cooking our other onions for a few hours here. I'm just going to turn this on. So we're taking the magpie. And we're just going to pour it in here, and this is what's going to make the base of our onion sauce.
Oh, that looks so good.
So there's sweetness in the onions. There's going to be
I
a
can
little bit
smell
of
that.
yeah. There's going to be a sweetness of the onions, a little bit of bitterness from the beer. Still another step to this, so we could come back to that while that's cooking. Okay, so for this meatloaf, we're using pork. You could use different kinds of meats. You could use, you know, if you're a hunter, you could use wild game, moose, elk, whatever. And this is just a very basic kind of thing, but you could add other ingredients into it to your liking. But I'm just kind of sticking with the simple things, and then you could kind of just add
You
add
got
onto it.
carrots, celery, onion, peppers.
Yeah. And then what we did with here, so this is going to be the base for what we're doing. And once again, we're going to get some more sauteing going. So this is going to, I don't generally put raw ingredients into the thing because I want to sweeten it up and get some of the moisture cooking. So for this, we're just going to get our mirepoix going. So we're just going to throw in some carrots, sweat that off.
What is a mirepoix?
Mirepoix is basically carrot, celery, and onions.
Oh,
and
I totally butchered that name.
Yeah, no, it's mirepoix. And then it's kind of a classic French base for a lot of like flavors, especially for soups and stocks and stuff like that. Here we're throwing in red pepper. Once again, we're gonna get some salt in there.
And why do you use the coarser salts? We've seen all different chefs use different kinds of salt. Is there a difference?
Generally I like using kosher or sea salt. It has a cleaner flavor. I don't like the small table salt, the iodized salt, because it almost gets too salty, whereas this I feel like I can control it.
Okay.
And it's just a better flavor. And especially when you're garnishing, I like those flavor pops of like salts and just let that saute. And basically I don't want to color it.
Yeah.
And I did some earlier, and then basically you're just gonna
so it's not too
like
cooked, it just looks
No,
like
you're just getting the moisture out and bringing out the sweetness in it. So for this meatloaf, so this is a pork shoulder. And we're just gonna grind this down fresh.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah, once again, we try to use as local as possible.
So where is this from?
This is from Broke Farms.
Okay.
Local pork. And then,
Is this the fun part?
Yeah, this is where we get dirty.
Roll up my sleeves.
So basically, we're just gonna drop this in.
Okay.
And grind our meat down fresh. Like I say, we make our own sausages, we grind our own burgers.
So you must do this a lot then in a restaurant?
Yeah, it's kind of our daily or weekly kind of thing. And it's not a bad thing to have fat into your thing because it gives moisture.
I noticed there's a lot of kind of multicolor in there.
Yeah. I prefer it because it gives more moisture, and a lot of people think that fat's bad for you.
Yeah.
It's not if it's in moderation.
Yeah.
And if you, there you go. Perfect. Yep. And that's the kind of the biggest misperception with fat and cooking and stuff like that. It's
yeah, so you got both kind of colors in there. Beautiful.
So from the mirepoix we got this. So we got our garlic, onions. You want to get your hands dirty?
Yes.
So you can start using your hands.
Washing. This is actually my favorite part of any cooking.
It's kind of like meditative. So I'm just gonna get some herbs in here.
Beautiful.
Some parsley. And this you don't have to, you could either keep it really fine or you could keep it coarse. And if you want to add some other things, you know, you
can play around with it.
Yeah, like I said, this is just a base. And I have some thyme here. And you could put other things like rosemary. You could put cumin in here. You could go, you know, a different flavor if you want to go a little more, you know, southern flavors and whatnot. But like I said, for today, we're just going to keep it very simple, just so people at home know how to start the base. You can totally
remake this at home.
Yeah. So, and for home, you don't have usually parchment paper. I'll show you what I did for later on. But just if you have like a little cake pan or something like that, all you need to do is
just gonna drop it in.
Yeah, put it right in.
Oh.
And what you can do is to make sure you have the seasoning right. You could take a little frying pan and take a little bit of it and fry it and taste it.
That's a good idea.
Otherwise, you know, if you think you're good at where you're going, is you just put it into the pan. All right. So all we're gonna do is flatten it out. So I'll show you. We're gonna pop this in the oven. And I'll show you when I have ready to go.
The magic of television.
Yeah, so you want to be very careful. This is hot. Just keep that there.
It smells good.
Be careful, this is going to be a little hot.
Okay.
It's nice and juicy. I'm going to try to take this out.
So you just put the parchment paper in so it wouldn't stick to the sides,
Yeah,
right?
and generally it won't stick, but that's what it's going to look like.
Beautiful.
Once again, I'm just going to put this here. Oops. A little Parchment, yeah, what I did is I took a little plastic wrap parchment paper and go from there. So that's nice and cooked. We're just gonna let that rest.
That looks beautiful. You got all the colors in there.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go back to our sauce here.
Okay.
So
that's onions and garlic and beer.
onions, garlic, beer, yep. Then what I'm doing, what I'm taking here is my duck gravy.
Okay. Yeah.
So you could take, if you have any gravy at home or if you have a gravy recipe, this is basically, in cooking terms, a demi-glace.
Yeah.
So it's just basically a nice, rich duck sauce. So we're having duck gravy with a beer onion sauce and a pork meatloaf.
Sounds delicious.
So we're just gonna heat that up. While that's reheating here again, we are just gonna get our plate ready. What we're gonna do here is we'll just do one nice big thing. We're gonna take one of our peppers. And we're taking our peppers from our fish earlier, just because this is gonna be like a nice fatty dish. So we're taking the meatloaf, gonna have a nice heavy sauce. Basically gonna pour that over your Now you got your pork meatloaf. You got a little pepper for
Doesn't that look comforting?
garnish. And then a little salt to finish.
Fantastic.
And we can wipe the rim.
That looks delicious. Can't wait to dig into some more of that. But we still have one more course left to make. When we come back, we'll be making dessert. See you then. Welcome back into the kitchen. We've got our two savory dishes here, and now, of course, my favorite part of any meal is dessert, and we're going to use the Big Rock Porter to do this one.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is, one of my favorite desserts is a profiterole, or kind of a cream puff I'm kind of doing. We're gonna do a porter curd, which is made with eggs and butter.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
Nope.
The profiterole, or the cream puff, is gonna be made out of basically butter, some porter, salt, and flour, and eggs. And then we're gonna pipe it all together, put it all together, and then we're going to make a chocolate porter sauce. So it's just porter on more porter, with a little more porter on top.
It sounds delicious.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do to start off, for the curd, this is gonna take a little bit, so I'm going to reduce a bottle of porter into half a cup.
Okay, and you're gonna do the whole bottle.
The whole bottle, yeah. And this is gonna bring out, once again, this is a heavier, this more like has coffee notes to it, so this is a very good dessert beer.
And it's a dark beer too, if you're not familiar with a porter.
So we're going to reduce that down to about half a cup.
Yeah.
That will give our base for our sauce. So while that's cooking, we're gonna go into our puff, or our cream puff, our Claire kind of pastry here.
Cool.
And so once again, so it's eggs, butter, water, and a little bit of salt. So we're gonna take the butter and just reduce or cook that down. Generally, we're gonna do this water goes in the recipe, but today we're gonna substitute the water for beer.
I like it.
So I'm gonna basically pretend I was gonna use that, but I'm gonna just measure this out, the same amount. Generally, add a little bit more for good measure. So we're just gonna put that in here. So these two, we're just gonna cook those down. So that's gonna cook. I'm gonna put a little sprinkle of salt in here.
Okay.
And while that's cooking, the next step will be, once this comes to a boil, we're gonna add flour to it and then mix it in.
Sounds good.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here is add the flour to this boiling mixture.
Okay.
And basically,
All at once?
yep, and you're basically gonna mix it in there until it makes like a paste.
Yeah.
Nice beer paste. And you're gonna cook it out. You want to mix it until it comes off the sides and it's fully incorporated. She's good. We got our beer reducing for our custard. So what we're gonna do is take this dough and just transfer it into our mixer.
Perfect.
And you can help me with this. And this recipe gets a little tricky because I have some eggs here cracked already, but you don't necessarily need all the eggs. It depends what elevation you are, if it's rainy out, if it's sunny out, and it all depends on how much. So basically, if you could help me add 1 egg at a time, I'll just show you, just like let one slip in.
Okay.
And then you're gonna see it kind of look like it gets curdled, so you have to let it mix back in. It's that type of day. Right. Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
That's where we want it.
So that's our dough.
Yep. So what you're gonna do here is help me
put
spatula that in here.
Seems messy.
Yeah.
It almost looks like a coffee or something.
Yeah, it's just like a really gummy paste. And this is another base you could do lots of. You could actually do a lot of savory applications. You could mix cheese into this and make gougères.
Oh.
Make like little cheesy cream puff things. You could mix potato in it and makes like a really nice light puffy potato. Okay, that's good. That's good for our purposes right now. So the trick with this is, I'll show you real quick. With this, I always put a little bit on the pan because if you just try to stick it to this, it'll always bring up your paper. So I'm putting
what a smart idea.
Put a little parchment paper on here. So all you're gonna do is just pipe little puffs like that. Think you could do that?
I think I can do that. That's easy enough.
Okay, you just hold it like that.
Every
and
time
squeeze.
I say that.
And the fun thing with cooking, if it looks all screwed up in the end, you just tell people that's the way it's supposed to be, and nobody will know the difference.
Like
you could go
painting,
you go a little bit more in there, yeah. So give me another 6 more, and we'll throw those in the oven. Perfect. Look at that. These are the best ones I've seen before. So what we're gonna do is throw these in the oven at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes. And then we'll check on those, let those cook.
Okay.
In the meantime, we're gonna get to our curd. I need 3 yolks and 1 whole egg into this guy right here. So
3 yolks.
3 yolks, 1 whole egg. So while you're doing that, I'm going to take some butter, and I'm just going to melt it into our beer sauce, our porter, reducing porter. Yeah. So we got our butter reducing. I'm going to put our brown sugar into here. So all I'm going to do is kind of make a egg mixture with our brown sugar. I need you to do here is keep on mixing. And I'm gonna pour our mixture into our eggs.
Right, so we don't make scrambled eggs.
Yeah, and basically we're just tempering it. And tempering means slowly adding liquid into our eggs without making them scrambled eggs. Just a fancy cooking term. Basically in the kitchen we say don't make scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
So if you do, you're in trouble.
And I guess you gotta eat it.
Yeah, generally that's what I make the guys do.
You make them eat their own creation? Mystery?
Yeah, I have some stories. I only make them eat it when they try to prove me wrong.
Oh.
And we make a deal. I don't force them to do that. So, okay, so this is the base of our custard. Basically what I'm doing, I'm gonna put it back into our pot over a medium heat. And basically stir this until it just comes to just before a simmer.
Yeah.
Essentially you want it to come to 82 degrees Celsius. That's before, well, anything above 82 to 85, it'll actually turn into scrambled eggs. And then our custard is done.
Cool, that looks good.
Yep. And then all you do is take this.
Yeah.
We're going to, we could actually probably take this pan. We'll pour it back into here so you can see how thick it is. Let it cool in the fridge. And once it's set,
Fridge?
yep. once it's set, it'll be nice and firm. So we're gonna go check on our profiteroles. And we did some beforehand. So this is what they're gonna look like after they're done. They're gonna puff up nice and lightly. They should be nice and airy, and basically they're empty.
Okay.
All right, so what we're gonna do here is pipe these guys full of our curd. These are a little warm yet, but you could essentially
just make a little hole.
Make a little hole, and then just fill them until you feel that they're full. So if you want to do that, so just take a couple.
Okay.
I'll do a couple holes in there for you. Just do gently when you do it. Yeah, or yeah. Yeah, but that looks good too.
Turn that to the back.
You know what? We have a sauce, and the saying goes, "Sauce hides 1,000 sins." So
That's a good saying.
yeah. But that's how we want it. We want it to be rustic and sticking out of the little cream puff. All right. So while you're filling those up, I'm gonna go make our chocolate porter sauce. And this is kind of what I'm doing is kind of making a ganache, but I'm not adding cream. I'm just adding porter beer to this. Just gonna add a little beer to our some melted chocolate. And you'll see how it'll look liquidy and then churn into.
Oh yeah.
And once again, you can see I'm kind of thinning it out. I want this to be a little bit thin, otherwise it'll be, I want it to
So you
spread
can
on
drizzle
top.
it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to put all these on here?
Yeah, why not? And basically, what we're doing is this. Just making a little chocolate sauce and see your little,
It smells
what
so
we
good.
call meant to be mistakes. So we're doing that.
Perfect. A little bit of salt.
Yeah, and what you can do too is you don't need to serve this warm. You could actually let it cool down, and the chocolate will stiffen up too.
Good idea.
And so it won't be as messy.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Cam.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks to Big Rock. Love cooking with our beer and hanging out with you guys.
We'll see you next time on Cooking with Beer.